Rogue Nicotine on demand, delivered direct to your door. Available in all your favorite flavors and formats: pouches, gum, wintergreen, peppermint, and more. From your Monday morning coffee to watching hoops to dinner at the in-laws, Rogue Nicotine is there for you when you need it. Visit RogueNicotine.com today and save 10% when you place your order for sugar-free, fast-acting Rogue Nicotine. Underage sales prohibited. This product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. For more information, visit RogueNicotine.com. Rogue Nicotine on demand, delivered direct to your door. Available in all your favorite flavors and formats: pouches, gum, wintergreen, peppermint, and more. From your Monday morning coffee to watching hoops to dinner at the in-laws, Rogue Nicotine is there for you when you need it. Visit RogueNicotine.com today and save 10% when you place your order for sugar-free, fast-acting Rogue Nicotine. Underage sales prohibited. This product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. For more information, visit RogueNicotine.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the program and greetings from Sin City. Well, the news today is a bit disheartening, but not unexpected. There is a new report out from the Miami Herald, which is talking about how the biggest beneficiary from the Jeffrey Epstein estate and from his fortune will be none other than the criminal enterprise known as the United States government. Now, isn't that nice? During the live stream, we were talking about this a little bit, and somebody asked me about the proceeds from the estate which were not doled out to the survivors. And I said during that live stream that I'm sure that the government would seize a nice piece for themselves. And here we are a couple of days later, and the Miami Herald is actually putting that on wax. You know, it doesn't shock me that the government would be getting a piece of this, but it is shocking and disgusting that they'd be getting the lion's share. This money should be distributed to these girls, and it should be given to them by the fund for their abuse at the hands of Epstein. So depending on how long that abuse occurred, how debilitating it was and all of that, there should be a tier system here where the girls who were abused for these long periods of time, they should be coming out of here with at least 10-20 million, in my opinion, each. The United States government should get its filthy, disgusting, greedy-ass hand out of the pie. But we all know that the United States government is just as bad as any criminal organization. Oh, what, you think if you don't pay your money back to the United States government, it's all good? Hell no. Try and dip, duck, and dodge the IRS and see what happens. At least your local loan shark just comes and roughs you up for a minute. The IRS, forget it. Your life is over. The United States government should be ashamed of itself, but that will never occur. You would actually have to have a moral compass and an idea of right and wrong to have shame. And we sure know that the United States government, and the rest of the governments around the world, by the way, don't give one damn about any of us. And that's just a fact, folks. That is just a fact. And to see here that the United States government is going to get the lion's share of Jeffrey Epstein's estate is literally, physically sickening to me. All right, let's jump into this article from the Miami Herald, and let's see what the author, Kevin G. Hall, has to say. Headline: Biggest cut of Jeffrey Epstein's fortune goes to a non-victim, the U.S. Treasury. So it'll go back into the United States Treasury, who in my opinion, doesn't deserve $1 of this money, considering their shitty behavior, the federal government, throughout all of these years. That should preclude them from getting one single dollar. Okay? So this money will go back into the Treasury, and then it'll be spent on what exactly? Claiming that people from Wall Street bets are domestic terrorists now too? Everything is completely backwards these days. And these scoundrels in government around the world, they just keep on pushing the envelope. An age-old adage has it that the two certainties in life are death and taxes. Disgraced financier, pedophile, Jeffrey Epstein died in 2019. And the second inevitably occurred late last year when his estate paid $190 million in estate taxes to the U.S. Treasury Department, newly released documents show. $190 million in estate taxes. Well, that should have just been covered by Leon Black's money that he gave to Epstein. What, $158 million? Pocket change, right? They should have that sitting around as pocket change. Lawyers for the Epstein estate, being settled in the U.S. Virgin Islands, filed a 20-page accounting report on Monday for the final 3 months of 2020. So, $190 million out of the original $634 million, right off the bat. Chop it up. We're taking it. We're the government. They could have waived that. They could have easily put a waiver out and said, we're just going to take the money that it's cost to prosecute. That's what we'll take to cover the cost for the taxpayer. But no, they have to have all $190 million so they can waste it on other dumb shit, huh? Because we all know the bureaucracy that the United States government is one of the most wasteful spending machines in the history of the world. Lawyers for the Epstein estate, being settled in the U.S. Virgin Islands, filed a 20-page accounting report on Monday for the final 3 months of 2020. Volumes of underlying annexes that accompany that report, but were not on the public-facing court website obtained by McClatchy and the Miami Herald, show that the Epstein estate also made 2 separate payments of $95 million late last year. Representatives for the estate confirmed the payments were for the estate tax, what some call the death tax. So, again, Uncle Sam's out there, hand held out wide, let me get my dough. I want my cut, even though they didn't do their job. Even though the federal government failed these survivors at every turn, they're still at the trough, fattening themselves. They're still wetting their beak at both ends, like usual. McClatchy and the Miami Herald also learned that Epstein's 2008 Gulfstream G550 sold late last year for $10.6 million, considerably below the original asking price of above $17 million. And we talked about all of that. Epstein's assets they were all going to take a haircut, right? There was no way anybody was going to buy the house for market price. Nobody's going to buy this jet for market price. They're going to leverage the situation and try and make it so they get a better deal. That's what happens. That's the way the market works. And the people that are buying these things, well, they have big dough. So they're going to show up with $10 million cash, and they're going to say, look, we got $10 million cash right here, right now, take it or leave it. And the estate, well, they took it. It was purchased by a company incorporated in California in December called N550GP LLC. The corporate documents show an Ontario, California address and were signed by Julian Gonzalez, who works for a home builder called Frontier Communities. Well, I really don't see how that matters one way or the other, honestly. Who bought the plane? It's a private citizen or whatever. That's cool. Have fun with the plane, buddy. You got it for the $10 million? Got a good deal? Great. That's $10 million more that's in the kitty for the survivors. The annexes for the latest accounting of the Epstein estate provided clues to the transaction. such as payments to AIC title services for the title transfer of an aircraft. Frontier officials declined to comment. The FAA confirmed that N550GP LLC filed registration paperwork for the jet on January 6th. So even though that they didn't comment, they filed the paperwork, obviously, for the jet, and they obviously are in possession of the jet now over at Frontier. Over the years, the jet had become known as the Lolita Express, reputedly used to ferry young girls to Epstein's private hideaway in the Virgin Islands. I mean, I don't know how anyone could buy this plane and get in it and fly around knowing what occurred in it. I mean, I would have to rip out every last fabric of carpet, every last thing on the inside, completely gut it and remodel it. Leave it as a shell and remodel it. That is the only way. But even then, flying around in this plane is just, I don't know who the hell would do that. Buried deep in the documents was a single page that referenced the two payments of $95 million to the Treasury Department. It's just, it's sickening, right? It really sickens me that the United States government is so defunct, so backwards, so corrupt. All this money the United States government piles in and brings in gets shipped out and spent even quicker. And what do we see for it as citizens of the United States? Is our infrastructure situation taken care of? No. How are our airports, folks? Shitty. How are the roads? Not great. How are the freeways? Could be better. And meanwhile, these assholes are spending like drunken sailors and basically taking food off the plate of the survivors. I hope that you're happy with yourselves, Treasury Department. It's unclear if that reflects an estimated payment that will change when the estate is fully settled, or is on a portion of his estate with more to come. Little more is publicly available about Epstein's payment beyond the headline number. So, again, as we have talked about here on this podcast, there is definitely more money that we don't even know about. 100% in my opinion, there is definitely more dough hanging out that we have no idea about, it's unaccounted for, and who knows how much and where it's located. So the question becomes, do they have a team of forensic accountants digging deep and looking for all of that money? My gut says they do. But then again, we're dealing with the defunct, halfway moronic, idiotic United States government. So who the hell knows? The co-executors for the estate, Epstein's longtime lawyer, co-conspirator, Darren K. Indyke, and accountant, co-conspirator, Richard Kahn, had originally estimated for the courts that the Epstein estate was valued at $577 million. In later filings, that number grew above $636 million with investment gains and asset sales. Yeah, right. They probably brought it in a little bit under so that they would have a couple of bucks for them to go and roll around in after this was all said and done. Indyke and Kahn shouldn't be anywhere near this case as far as executors or anyone besides defendants. Like I always say, forget worrying about the estate. These two clowns should be guests of the state. A tax revamp passed by Congress and signed by former President Donald Trump gave an estate tax break to the wealthy. It temporarily raised to $11.2 million the threshold over which estates would have to pay taxes on accumulated wealth. You know, it's always a little hookup for the rich, right? Oh, trickle-down economics. BS. All right? It doesn't work. Sure, it sounds good. Sure, it looks good. But crony capitalism gets in the way. And unless you regulate these scumbags in the financial district, the financial sector, then you're going to have runaway corporate crony capitalism. And that doesn't do anyone any good except the super rich. Just take a look at the transfer of wealth in the past year, folks. No more really needs to be said. You could have an opinion, but the facts bear out. The absolute heist of the middle class around the world is on. And these elites are laughing all the way to the bank. All the way to the bank. It means that, to that amount, the Epstein estate would not be taxed. Then it would be taxed at roughly $345,000 for the next million. Then the remainder of the estate's value would be taxed at a rate of 40%. So I'm certainly not an accountant, and I'm barely capable of doing my own taxes. So never mind diving into all of this stuff and getting into the back and forth of what tax breaks are available, what loopholes are available. That's certainly not something that I am well versed enough in to dive into. Federal tax code is gigantically huge and confusing. But what I will say is this. The whole entire way that the Trump administration had the wealth tax set up is ridiculous. And it was obvious a throwback to the homies. A back-of-the-envelope calculation using the temporary increase in the threshold and the 40% rate would put the Epstein's estate value at about $485 million, less than the original $577 million valuation. Crazy. It's crazy to think that the United States government is going to come out of all of this with the lion's share of the dough, considering their huge role in this going on for so long. Their inability to stop Jeffrey Epstein. Their inability to have employees who work for them who do the right thing. And they think that they should profit on this from the back end? Hell no. But there are numerous potential reasons for the difference, including whether Epstein left an earlier designated inheritance to his brother, Mark Epstein, or anyone else, or had taken any number of measures, such as employing a choice of valuation dates to lower his tax estate burden. Again, we don't know. It could be a lot of that stuff, right? None of that has been brought to the forefront yet. So we'll have to wait for more information about how the will was broken down, the estate was broken down, etc., etc. Now, as far as Mark Epstein, his brother, goes, I don't know how Mark Epstein could avoid being dragged into a RICO case here, considering they were in business together, they owned stuff together, the building, etc., etc. You mean to tell me all of that was made with good money, huh? All of that was built with good money. No ill-gotten gains were used for any of that stuff, huh? Okay, well, prove it. While the accounting of the estate shows Epstein in death did in fact pay substantial sums in taxes, it may be less than it appears given the tax shelters available to people with his vast wealth. And right back to it. When you're in this level of wealth and you have this kind of money, there's a different level of playing field for you. You can go offshore, you can hide your money, you can shelter it, you can make sure that, you're in on the scam. Meanwhile, the rest of us, without the means, without the dough, we're not in on the scam. We're the ones being scammed. And you wonder why we're all so pissed off. It may be counterbalanced by a zero income tax rate on accumulated but never realized gains and other tax shelter opportunities for much of the income he earned during his life. A common occurrence for estates of this size, said Eugene Sterling, a leading authority on the estate tax for the think tank Urban Institute and co-author of a recently study published in the National Tax Journal on the taxes of the uber rich. So basically, in a nutshell, there are all kinds of shelter opportunities for people with Epstein to make sure that they're not getting taxed at the rate that they're supposed to be taxed at. It's done with a wink and a nod. You have laws in the United States, but these people circumvent those laws by going overseas to these tax shelters and hiding their money there. And that's what we're witnessing with Epstein, obviously, and with pretty much all of these scumbags in the financial sector. Investment income is taxed at the rate of capital gains, much lower than the tax rates on wage income for high earners. And over the past 2 decades of his life, Epstein received a generous tax break from the U.S. Virgin Islands Economic Development Authority that reduced his tax burden in exchange for pledges of local hiring and revenue generation. Literally none of that occurred, by the way. Epstein got all of those tax breaks, set up his shit down there, and nothing happened. He didn't give anybody jobs. He didn't hire anyone locally. In fact, the business really wasn't doing anything. But yet, it stayed in business. Nobody raided his place. Nobody showed up with a warrant at his house. And I wonder why. How many of those officials in the Virgin Islands were on the take? The U.S. Virgin Islands also allowed Epstein to create a tax-free holding company for his aircraft, including Plan D, LLC, formed for the Gulfstream jet that was sold by the estate. The tail numbers on Epstein's plane, N212JE, have been closely tracked since the Herald's Perversion of Justice series in November 2018 renewed attention on him. They are likely to disappear with the final documentation of the new ownership of the Gulfstream jet. Yeah, they'll get a new tail number for sure. So that's probably the last we have seen of the infamous jet owned by Jeffrey Epstein. The Monday update on the Epstein estate's finances also revealed that it had paid out nearly $50 million between late last June and December 31st to women who brought claims to a special Epstein victims compensation fund. No number of payouts was provided, but more than 100 victims have brought claims seeking compensation for abuse by Epstein. So he's paid out $190 million in estate taxes and shit, but only $50 million to the survivors? That don't seem right to me. Not in the least. In fact, the survivors should have all been paid out. Whatever their cases were deemed financially viable. And then the government should have gotten a piece of whatever was left. But why are they getting their dough right off the top right away? So they can go and spend it ridiculously, give Saudi Arabia a few more bombs to drop on the Yemenis people? It's just, folks, it's at this point where you look at this case and you say to yourself, can everything possibly be this effed up on the world stage? Could all of our governments all around the world be such bumbling buffoons, such criminals? And it's obvious that they are. Just take a good hard look, no matter where you're from, at your government and at the way that they conduct themselves. And then tell me that you don't think that changes need to happen worldwide. The United States government should not have gotten their chunk of change before these survivors. In fact, the United States government, for their shitty job done in this case, shouldn't have got 1 single cent. If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI at protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. All of the links for this episode can be found in the description box. And to everybody who has donated to the podcast and to the show, thank you folks very much. All right, everybody, I will be back later on, and we will pick up where we left off.
Welcome to Driveway, a new way to buy or sell a car 100% online. Driveway is flexible. Now you can buy or sell your car anywhere. The gym, the supermarket, or your couch. You name it, we'll be there. We have a nationwide network with tens of thousands of new and used vehicles, so you can find the perfect ride. With Driveway, there's no pressure or haggling. We offer the best price up front, online financing options, and a worry-free money-back guarantee. That's Driveway, a car buying experience that's easy, delivered right to your, well, like the name says, driveway. Head to Driveway.com now.
What you doing?
Trying on glasses with Zenny's 3D virtual try-on.
Wait, are those the actual prices? I say get all of them.
Seriously, why not, right?
Oh, now I want new glasses.
Zenny.com. Quality prescription glasses starting at $6.95.